She was very concerned that she was going to become a story.
Crisis within Parliament House over the sexual assault.
Brittany Higgins has released a statement.
Text messages show a Liberal staffer approached his office.
It's overshadowing the government's response to the pandemic.
Politician staff are never supposed to be the story. They are supposed to be there to make their political masters look good, not attract all the attention. But for the past 10 days, the terrible revelations of what Brittany Higgins says happened to her have dominated politics and led to further allegations of bad behaviour by others. Hers is the latest in a steadily growing list of tales about the bullying, sexual harassment and now even sexual assault of political staff, and much hand-wringing about a toxic culture in politics towards women. Tonight, we examine the rather feudal system that helps feed that culture and materially sets up unhealthy power relationships that make political staff, particularly women, so vulnerable to bad treatment. The system is based on what is known as the MOPS Act, the Members of Parliament Staff Act, but there is also a body known as the Star Chamber, and the system they underpin is constructed to leave staff at the mercy of their employers, but also unaccountable to the actual employers, us taxpayers.
The real dilemma with the Act is that staffers don't exist in constitutional theory. So they're really established as surrogates of, as extensions of their ministers. And it's now a really significant political institution within our system of government, but it doesn't have rules and arrangements to govern it effectively.
The MOPS Act, in comparison with any private sector arrangement, is a bit like that line Princess Diana famously used about the number of people in her marriage. Unlike most employment contracts between two parties, the employer and the employee, a MOPS Act contract is a bit crowded, with the MP, the staffer and the Department of Finance all involved. The contract of employment is signed with the Department of Finance and through that the Commonwealth of Australia. That's us, the taxpayer. But the person with the authority to hire and fire is the individual MP. The second difference is the MOPS contracts allow for a staffer to be sacked at any time without a reason being given. That means the Department of Finance, despite being the employer who pays the staff, has virtually no power to intervene in the relationship between the staffer and the MP. And that extends beyond the hiring and firing power to give MPs and ministers enormous power over their staff. That brings us to the Star Chamber. Officially, it's called the Government Staffing Committee. Many people in the coalition charge that since the Abbott era, the Star Chamber has been increasingly weaponised. That is, the Star Chamber has increasingly dictated who will or won't work for individual ministers, rather than letting the ministers decide their own staff.
The Government Staffing Committee is quite a mysterious body. It's an internal to the government. It's chaired, I understand, by the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, but it's very unclear what responsibilities that body has.
While staffers are protected by general anti-discrimination and protection provisions of the Fair Work Act, any compensation that has to be paid is paid for by the Commonwealth, not the MPs. If, for example, Brittany Higgins made a claim against Linda Reynolds and her Chief of Staff for a prejudicial alteration to employment, we, the taxpayers, would have to foot the bill.
Finance has the responsibility to manage those workplaces as best they can without actually having any power.
Perhaps the greatest benefit to politicians of ministerial staff, however, is not the power they wield over them, but that they work outside all systems of accountability to which politicians and public servants must answer. In other words, they can't, for example, be called before a parliamentary committee to answer questions. In the Brittany Higgins case, for example, there is no capacity to call Minister Linda Reynolds' Chief of Staff before a Senate inquiry to find out what she said and did.
A significant controversy that everybody kind of remembers as marking a shift in the debate was the Children Overboard affair, in which ministers claimed, and the Prime Minister claimed to not know that claims that had been made in the media weren't validated.
The commanding officer of the Adelaide has never said the children were thrown in the water, has he?
I can't positively answer that question.
That inquiry really focused attention on this black hole of accountability at the centre of the staffing system and the extent to which it did provide, plausible deniability for ministers, whether that was their intention or not. This is, what many people became concerned about in terms of staff as a black hole of accountability and one that it's pretty convenient to have actually at public expense.
Academics who have watched the MOPS system develop hope the current controversy helps spur reforms to the system, despite multiple previous reviews coming to nothing.
The inadequacy of the governance framework of staff has been a matter of live discussion for a very long time, and there's been no interest in dealing with it.
And of course, Brittany Higgins has revealed just how badly served staffers are by this arrangement.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.